All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Chop Pod. I got some special guests here. Obviously, we'll get the guy that we already know out the way, James Piercy from the Dream Shake. We got two special guests from the Flagrant 3 podcast. You can catch it on YouTube. The link is going to be in the description of this pod, and also catch it on the streaming apps. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Jerry, you can rock it first, and let Mike go. What's good with you, bro?
What's up, y'all? I'm Jerry with the F3 podcast.
And I'm Mike with the F3 podcast.
Yeah, appreciate y'all for joining us, man. We're going to get into some Rockets talk today. Obviously, the top news and all the stuff circulating around social media is James Harden's potential return. You know, there's people that saying it's a done deal. There's people that say don't count on it. I guess it's just whoever you talk to. But I just kind of wanted to get into a discussion about, is that like something that you all would like to see for the Houston Rockets? And if so, or if not, what are your reasonings for the position you take? Me and James have talked about this a little bit in our previous pod where we kind of went through the financial aspect of it, looking at how that impacts the team long term. But I swear to God, like every day I go back and forth. Like I'll wake up one morning and be like, oh, that's a good idea. Then, the next day I'm like, damn, I don't want Harden to ruin. I guess it's based on how Jalen and them play. Because if they look like trash, then I'm like, yeah, bring him home. But yeah, what do y'all think about that? And Jerry, you can rock with us first for that.
Okay, so as a Lakers fan, the hater in me wants to see
10 seed. Listen, y'all did it. Hang the banner.
Nice, exactly. Get it right.
Hang it.
The hater in me wants to see him come back because I saw how it ended. That's the hater in me. Now, if I was a Rockets fan, I would be torn, honestly, because one, he actually is like a productive, really good point guard, and that's like the actual position that y'all need. Two, I don't know. Well, the other side of it is I'm a little shaky on if I want Harden as the veteran presence in my locker room with the bunch of 20, 21, 19-year-olds. So it's like, is his influence going to be a positive? Probably not off the court. But on the court, like, if you get a guy like that, he's been around the game for, 13, 14 years. He's been playing at a high level for that extent. He knows the ins and outs of, like, how it is to run an offense, what it's like when defenses do this, what is it like when your coach tells you something, but you have an idea of what could work for you, and you can relay that. So, like, from the on the court product, like, I would say yes for the right price, but off the court, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know about that one. But if you can bring a veteran that'll help them along with Harden, like how CP3 was in OKC, like that'd be perfect. That's perfect. And then you could have Jalen learn from somebody that honestly is where he wants to be. So like again, I'm torn. So, but the hater in me is like, yeah, bring him in. I don't want to see y'all win big. So do it.
To Harden's credit, he's never been at the strip club with a gat on him. So I guess the rep. So you know what I mean. We can't kill him too hard. You know what I mean. I ain't never seen him.
He has bodyguards with him. He makes sure he has bodyguards.
Right. Yeah, he's a professional. Yeah, he's a professional with his strip club.
Professional might be a strong word, but I'll
professional strip club attendee.
He all time Hall of Fame.
All timer.
There's a jersey hung up. Like it's the real deal.
It's crazy. He's what the Clips line legend in two sports like Pee Wee Kirkland.
Legend in two sports.
He in two zones, bro. But yeah. Go ahead, Mike. What you think about the Harden thing?
Here's the thing. I'm not James Harden's biggest fan. I will say that. I understand why bringing him. I understand why fans would want him here. Obviously, he's our second greatest Rocket of all time. A lot of our fans, especially the younger generation, their guy is James Harden. How they became Rockets fans to everything is James Harden, regardless. Like, there was the Steve Francis fans that came up with the Steve Francis years, and then the T-Mac, the Yao years, and then you have, before that, the Akeem years. Well, this generation, it's James Harden. And then in between that, you got the Aaron Brooks fans and You have those guys.
Weirdos.
Torture.
Who are the weirdos in the fan base that like Aaron Brooks like that?
You got the torture like that was put through the fire. But James Harden, so I understand the love that people have for James Harden in the city. I also understand like him as a player, him as a name, a star player, why that makes sense. He would bring value to the franchise again, just in the name alone. Like, which right now we don't have that. The only value we have is when Bill Simmons brings up Jalen Green and the fans can go crazy when it gets talked about, or how bad the Rockets are doing, or how people on ESPN don't trash us. They enjoy trashing us, and
Yes,
I get it. Like, they enjoy trashing us. We are the new kings at this, even though we haven't been bad as long, but we get talked about in the same kind of, and just what everything's going wrong. So I understand the James Harden thing. Me, on the other hand, it really, like you might have said before, that it really depends on where the team is at, how I feel about bringing James Harden. If we are far away, I don't know if that makes sense. Because you look at what Atlanta's done, right? They press the button way too fast, and you see where it's gotten them. That is it's hard. It's a hard job being a GM and having a future maybe superstar guy like Trae Young early. You see how good he is, and you want to press the button, be good now. You think it's just that easy. When they press the button, it seemed like they made all the right moves. They drafted the right kind of wings. They traded for Capella. They got all these guys that do all these particular things they're supposed to handle, and Trae Young can just go score, and you got these guys. And what has that gotten to? They had one good run that people would say is fluky, but besides that, it's been ugly. They're on their third coach, and it's a balance thing, because there's no right way to do it. That's the part I think as fans we kind of get lost in, that there's no right way. James Harden could be the reason. He could be our Chris Paul for like those Suns teams, like to where like Devin Booker was already really good, but when they got Chris Paul and got him on that team, his way how he looks at basketball, how he wants to play basketball, how he holds the team to like a certain standard took them to another level. You know what I'm saying? That's what took them there. I'm not sure James Harden's that kind of guy, though. He's not how I look at Jimmy Butler and Chris Paul. But talent-wise, he's on that level of player. I honestly wouldn't want him here unless we get Wembanyama. If we get Wembanyama, I think he unlocks Wembanyama in a whole different way. Like a Harden Wembanyama pick and roll just sounds like, I don't know what you want to do. I don't know what you do with that.
Crazy.
That's just like, I don't know.
Like Embiid,
he's the ultra lob threat. Like, there's never been a lob threat that's been that tall before. It's like, oh, but he can just pop out and shoot.
Yeah.
And we just got to hope Jabari can hit a corner three. That's it. And Jalen as a spot up shooter are coming off attacking on the wing is like in a maxi roll. Just seems like that just drives like his value up and what maximizes what he can do. I feel like if we get Wembanyama, then I am on the Harden thing for sure.
Man, me and Mike are on the same page on this about a lot of aspects of it, man, because I feel the same about Wembanyama. To me, if you draft Victor Wembanyama, like, it's go time, man, because if this kid is going to be what he's supposed to be, right, then he should be like an all-star caliber player by year 2, because that's how like these all-time historic greats, that's how their career arc goes. Like, they're stars year 2, like he should be all NBA by year 3, right?
I feel like defensively, he's going to I don't know if the offense necessarily, because it's hard for big men in offense. It's hard. You don't get the ball. Like, you're just not going to get the ball. You got to get the ball. But on defense, I feel like he could be an instant impact defender. Like, just warp the court on defense. Like,
put him in the pick and roll with Harden, though. He might be able to make an offensive impact.
Oh, that's an easy. Right? That feels like an easy 8 to 10 points a game. Like how you stop him. Like, what you gonna do? If the 3-point shot is right, the 3-point shot has been, he can shoot, but it's been kind of shaky. But if he's in that 35% range, so you got to respect it, then I don't know what you do with that. That's almost even more than the Embiid thing, because just his pressure at the rim at his size, there's nobody like that. He doesn't have to dunk the ball.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I don't know. Like, no, if Harden throws it up, who's going to be up there with him? It's just him up there when he throws the high enough. That's a dangerous. Yeah, tough.
No doubt. But let me say this, man. In a world where we draft like Brandon Miller, Cam Whitmore, something like that, it's a little bit hard for me to see the end game with signing a 34-year-old on like a $50 million a year, 4-year deal, man. Like
it doesn't make. You're right.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years, that deal's going to be unmovable, really. Like probably he's not going to be living up to it, and nobody's going to want. The only bad contracts in the NBA right now are max contracts, in my opinion. Right, everything else can be moved. You can't move a $50 million deal, right? So then we're hamstrung, and like even if our guys are developing well and we'd like to make a big move, we got this big deal on the books. So that's a little dicey, right?
That's where my push and pull comes from. Is like when you get James Harden, the type of player that James is, he doesn't necessarily help our guy. He doesn't help Sengun's development on offense because Harden does need the ball. That's what that's his best. And Sengun at his best is in this Sabonis-like role to where he's just like the offensive fulcrum, and you're just destroying teams off handoffs and handoff fakes and getting to the basket and things like that. That's not Harden's game. Like at all.
Definitely.
Like he accelerates. Like Sabonis has accelerated what Fox is. Fox doesn't have to do as much, and he's enabled him to get downhill, to get those mid-range shots and things like that, rather than be just the primary guy on ball. So that's also unless Harden and Sengun figure out this weird pick and roll thing, which that could be interesting too in some ways.
No,
but
I think they're too bad. It's too bad defenders and
I don't even want to talk about these.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the issue.
We just got to play like the Kings and just dominate on offense and be like, you know what, we're going full offense. We're just going to wipe you off.
That's another reason I wouldn't want him. Like you said, if you don't have
the defense, because you gotta get him somebody, because Harden, how he plays, people always forget that Philly has like one of the best players in the NBA. So if you look at Harden's efficiency and all the good stuff, it's not in a vacuum. Like he is literally playing with one of the most dominant players, and the pressure that Embiid brings when he's rolling, when he's popping out, it just opens up the world for a older James Harden. And there are times where he tries to isolate, and people say, why doesn't he score more? It's because he probably can't do that like on a regular basis. So I think people have a warped view of him.
Hey, I think I could average 5 assists a game with Joel Embiid on my team. I'd figure it out. It's like, hey, like I'm just gonna like
throwing the ball.
Yeah, just throwing the ball. He gets, with assists now, especially you get 2 dribbles to get to make a move to the basket. I don't even know what his assists is anymore. It's like, I think I could get 3 to 5 assists a game with Joel Embiid scoring 33 points a game. Like I figure, I'm just gonna Embiid turnaround jumper. It's like I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't.
Yeah, you hit on a point that I did like. One of the things I think of is how early we are, because to me the Rockets haven't made any progress as far as their development from this rebuild. I look at the rebuild in different stages, and to your point, it's not like there's a map for it. People think it's like year 1 you got to do this, year 2 it's just like you just kind of read what the team is doing, and usually you don't make this move for a big free agent. There's two types of context for this. Is either it's going to be you have a young scrappy team like Memphis, like OKC, that you've already you've identified some key players and you're ready to kind of take that leap into being a contender, or you're doing the LA with LeBron thing where, hey, we got the assets we need, we see a guy we like, let's aggregate Jalen Green, aggregate Sengun, and trade him for another player to pair up with them. I just don't. Dangerous. I don't see a world. I mean, that's crazy to me. That'd be the worst.
The second one is just really dangerous, man. Like Bradley Beal is a second guy when you got like a top guy, like let's say Jason Tatum. You got a guy like Embiid. Yeah, I'm cool with Bradley Beal. Yeah, I'm cool with Bradley Beal as my second guy, but with Harden as my first guy, I don't want Bradley Beal as my second guy. That's it's dangerous. You end up like.
One thing I think about is this. It's basically the same point, but like part of me, sometimes I entertain the thought of like, okay, we're like the worst team in the league, right? And maybe we're going to add this like top 15, 20 player simply by virtue of the fact that like he loves the city and he's got ties and stuff, right? Like that's a unique situation. Normally a team like the Rockets would not be in a position to get a guy like Harden. You know what I mean? It doesn't really make sense, right? So if that's what's happening, maybe we should go out there. Maybe we should move everybody, like move Jalen, move Bari, move Sengun, move all the picks, like go crazy, go see if you can get Kawhi Leonard, like go nuts. But then I'm like, nah, that's crazy, man. You can't do that. So then I'm like, well, then we shouldn't get Harden. You know what I mean? Like it kind of there's lately I've been leaning towards it doesn't make sense, to be honest with you. But
how often does that way actually work?
Yeah, that's another thing.
You know, like how often has the star hunting thing really worked for teams?
We have a resident
conference trip, right? But
a resident Lakers fan here that actually did that. So is it worth winning a championship in a bubble and losing your future, like as a Lakers fan? Oh yeah,
yeah. Sign me up every time for that deal.
Because y'all looking at right now, you have no flexibility going forward. Aging LeBron, AD, Mr. Glass, Mr. Street Clothes, whatever they call him. I don't know. Like to me, like the team building thing, and I'm curious to see what you think about this, Jerry. Like I like if you're gonna draft all these first round picks and all these kids, and I like the slow playing it and just seeing what they are, because that seems to be the more sustainable method of holding a contender and building a quote unquote dynasty, or even just a team that's good for a long period of time. But you could always end up failing, like a lot of teams, like the Hornets, like the Kings did for over 20 years. What do you think is if you're looking at it from the Harden piece? There's a world where, and to me, the dream world is short-term contract. You can give him $1 billion in 2 years and just let him be out the door within 2 or 3 seasons before Jalen Green reaches his. Because I'm okay with him coming. It's just those back years that really gets me. So, Jerry, what do you think? Like what is your approach to that? I know as a Lakers fan, you've seen the short term, but do you see any value in that? Letting the guys you draft to develop.
The biggest difference to me is, are you trying to win a championship or are you trying to make the play in? Like those two things matter. Like if you're in a win now, like win now as in win a championship mode, pieces where if you add Harden, you're close to a championship. You're like a championship is in grabs. Then yeah, every time do it. But y'all are like so far behind that. It's like, so what are you playing for?
Yeah.
So if you're playing for the play-in, then all right. If Tillman really wants that, let's go for it. But if you want a championship at the end of the day, you're gonna have to slow play it if you're the Rockets.
I mean, honestly, our guys don't even know how to run pick and rolls correctly. So the idea that adding a James Harden, to me, it just sounds like Tillman or the fans are just tired of being bad. It's like almost like a cop out.
45 wins. 45.
Yeah, like, hey, we're relevant. We have 6 ESPN games again. And I know, James, you're tired. You're tired of sucking, right? So, like, I mean, I get it. Pause, right? Pause. But, I mean, I see the value in it, like for the bridging thing, but I can't imagine James is just coming down just to be a mentor and teach guys how to be pros. Like, I just can't see it.
We can take more incremental measures towards not being horrible too, right? Like go out and get Naz Reid or Cam Johnson, or like the best free agents that you can. Overpay a little bit if you have to because you suck. Like target restricted free agents. Like we can do things besides. Like the worst team in the league just doesn't go get James Harden. Like what? Imagine if Harden signed with the Pistons this summer. You'd be like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like what are they doing? You know. It wouldn't actually be any different, like in practice, you know.
Yeah.
Imagine if LeBron signed with the Lakers. It's crazy, right? The worst.
Yeah, but you know what? To LeBron's credit, though, like I mean, he won a championship. The dude was like he was still low key. Yeah, so I think. He was still
20. It's like, no, man.
And to me, year 20, LeBron is closer to James Harden than wherever he was when the Lakers, as far as with the caliber of player. But yeah, I mean, I think they could achieve.
He's still better than James Harden right now.
So. Yeah, I ain't gonna cap. I think they could achieve the same outcomes because ultimately, the way I've thought about this over the past few weeks is that at the end of the day, you want Jalen Green, Jabari, Sengun, or whoever the guys that you keep to win it, to be the guys that are carrying the bulk, and maybe the guy you draft next year to carry the bulk of like the winning and what you're doing in 24, 25, 26 onward. So if that's really where it's going to be at that time, because we assume even if we give James Harden a 4-year contract, those last few years, he's going to be almost unplayable probably. You know, the defense is going to be bad. I don't see him aging well. So if you know that when you get to there, you're gonna have a guy that's like maybe he's playing like the Chris Paul role right now, where he's like a 20-some minute of the game, but he's making 50 million. To me, that really does hamstring flexibility. Let's say a Jalen Brown shakes loose, or one of these star players that you want to go grab, and now your cap sheet has a dude that if you did make the playoffs, he probably wouldn't be playable, eating the money. I know people, it's not sexy to like think about 3 years down the line for a team, but it's like every year in the NBA, there's a big contract that everybody's like, yeah, we're gonna do it, and then 2 years later, this is the worst contract in the NBA, and everybody's complaining.
My biggest thing on Harden is we're in year basically 2.5 of this thing. I can't believe people were. I get it, like fans, we won a lot. We won a lot. We won more than just about any team during the 2010s. So I understand how annoyed fans are right now with losing, but it's honestly not that bad. We're not at that level yet to like just do anything to win. We are not there yet to just go get whoever you can and hope. We're not at trade for D'Angelo Russell level, Timberwolves level, and just try to like do anything to win. Like we're not at that or Rudy Gobert level to just win. We're not there yet. Our guys are still all super young. Like Sengun is what, 21, 20? He's 20.
20, I think.
Jalen
Yeah,
just turned 21. Jabari is 20.
19,
KPJ
right?
19. He hasn't turned 20 yet.
Yeah, I don't think so.
KPJ, if you like him, he's what, 22?
Mm-hmm.
Like Tari is 20 or 21. Is Tari even 21 yet?
21. He's 21. Yeah, he's a little bit older.
21. If you like Garuba's 20 or 21. Like all of our guys that you're hoping for growth, and growth for me, growth for young players, which I feel like I have the conversation a lot, takes place over the summer. Because teams don't practice that much anymore. And I feel like young guys, where they get a chance to really work on their game and work on stuff to the summer to like put into like live game action, that's where the biggest jumps happen. You don't see players usually take a jump, young guys take a jump during the season. You see it when they come back and it's like, oh, you're a different guy now. Oh, Desmond Bane, you can handle the ball and do pick and rolls and that stuff now. You weren't doing that at all the year. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff I see. And I just think that takes time. We have guys with talent. Like you can't say we're not like the guys. It's not like we don't have bums out there. Like, dang, can this guy? We have guys out there that have done real NBA things and have shown flashes. So I'm more in the line of maybe not signing the biggest guy, but signing like veterans to shape out our 7 to like 10 man guy. Like we need the good veterans to come off the bench to like hold it down to mix with our young guys. I think that's more important to like actually a guy that actually knows how to, a guy that actually knows how to like say something on defense, be vocal, like run a proper pick and roll, get the guy the ball when he's hot, hit the guy in the corner quicker, like give the ball to Sengun and cut. We just need those guys. We don't need necessarily, stars right now, I feel. We just need guys to help shape up the young guys and see what they can do and boost the roster. Like, do the little stuff,
How would y'all feel about somebody like Lonzo?
Can he walk?
I would love to gamble on Lonzo if it's not going to cost assets.
Yeah, for free.
Didn't they say he was like he's done? Like, I mean, that injury stuff sounded really.
It is. The injury is scary. They don't even know what's going on. It's like Victor Oladipo. It's kind of Victor Oladipo level. Like they're not even sure what's wrong with him.
Yeah, I love the kid, man. I love Lonzo's game. Like I just think he's so versatile and effective. So, but yeah, it's obviously, can he walk is a troubling question.
He's the perfect complementary guy to like guys who do stuff. He's the perfect kind of complementary player you want. He doesn't do a bunch of flashy stuff, but he does enough little things on offense and defense and knows how to play the game.
Like, he's like a 3-and-D wing that is a playmaker in transition. Effectively is what he's become, right? And that's a crazy good player, man.
Yeah.
He definitely is. One thing, James, like me and James, we were talking about this earlier. It kind of relates to the Bill Simmons comments on Jalen, as far as like him compared to Mobley. And I think to me, the way I look at it from a bigger perspective is like the development of all the Rockets, like young guys, the core, which is probably Jabari, Sengun, Jalen, and Tari, and whoever else the people like. But one thing that to me, like for them, is really hard to gauge how good they've been or what they truly are without the Rockets actually having a system. Like we don't have point guards, we don't have veterans on the roster to even help them look good. So basically, all we see are these random flashes of, maybe they look great one night, then they'll go through like a 2 month stretch of being trash. And it's really hard for me to even know like next year. Everybody expects us, even Stone talking about phase two. I'd be happy if we had 30 wins. Like, because once again, like the fundamental stuff, pick and rolls, uh not hitting your, like there was a play Jalen and Sengun bumped heads when he snaked, like on some, like, what I mean, bad news bears type stuff. So we just so far away. I really think people have set the bar for all of our players and the team way too high.
I have a few ideas about that. You brought up Memphis earlier. Memphis, how they've scouted players and the type of players they have on their team are able to get, they do a great job. They have a bunch of smart guys who play defense and play hard. Not the most flashiest guys, but for some reason they just play well. We kind of almost have the opposite a lot too. A lot of the opposite. It's just how the guys that we target and what kind of guys we want. I don't know if that's just the whole Memphis likes really gritty guys and guys that don't necessarily show up like flashiness, but guys that are just good players and like they seem to keep targeting those type of players, and how we're almost looking to like hit it out the park, because even I mean with the Bane thing and people who like get lost in it's like however many 20 some other teams passed up on Bane. That he wasn't like a guy teams were just like, if he was, they would have been picked him. He was the type of guy teams did like, but they were like, yeah, his shot is weird. He's not super like athletic. The arms, like, can he even do stuff off the dribble? And Memphis just were really high and targeted and figured it out with that guy. And now he's like a all-star level kind of guy. Like with the Jaren Jackson thing, he has a weird offensive game. It's when you see him play, he's really a 6'11", 3-and-D guy. He's not a big man. It's just weird. No. But they've figured out like he's so good on defense using his length, and he can stretch. He just stretches the court and be like a perimeter paint defender. There's only two guys like that. It's just Brook Lopez and him. There's no other guys, the big man that just shoot threes and can defend the paint like that. That's it. And just like how they do and how we've gone for like the ultra talented guys. Potential, but that can get really rough times when you're banking on that potential rather than just banking on good players already, and maybe they got more in them. You know what I'm saying? I feel like teams kind of miss on that department of looking at guys.
Like a Jalen Williams over in OKC, one of my favorite young players in the NBA. The dude is like, and I think a lot of our fans get real thing like about the age thing, like, oh, he's too old. I think if you're going to draft 7 first round picks, at least you want a healthy mix of like
can you
high
play
upside, yeah, and baseline. Like this dude knows he knows how to play basketball.
That's how I feel about Tari. We were talking about in the chat yesterday. I'm like, it sucks when you're a front office and you draft guys at certain positions and they have to play up to those positions you draft. Tari is flat out probably one of the better players on our team. Like he would be starting on OKC and he'd be getting Rookie of the Year buzz if he was in a different position. He just so ends up to be playing behind Jabari, who's the third pick in the draft, and it's just made like there's no way if you watch enough Rockets games, you're like, man, Tari just stands out every game.
He's way better than Barry, dude. Like
he's not a good offensive player, but he keeps scoring, and he's like the best shooter on our team. That doesn't make sense, but he's not a shooter. And he's not an offensive player. How does he keep scoring? Why is he the best shooter on our team?
Like been taking so high, you can't.
We're kind of like handcuffed to him. When really like Tari's is like actually like he should be playing 30 minutes a game. Like I see it every game. It's like Heck, play Tari at the 2. I don't care. Put him on the court. Like, he should be on the court. He's been that good, the impact wise. Like, eye tests, it's even the metrics are just like, oh, he's even better than like what the eye test is. It's like,
he was like that at LSU.
I
His
agree.
advanced stats were just
I
crazy. James,
love it.
let me ask James, like, for I know we've talked about this too with the Tari and Bari. Like, would you consider, because this was controversial we have another Mike that we know. I suggested that we should bench Jabari, not out of punishment, just because I just don't feel he's ready to be an NBA player right now. Like, the dude should still be at Auburn or in the G League somewhere, learning how to play basketball. But was that like a controversial take to think that Tari deserves the minutes, or do you think the politics of a third pick? Because I remember a lot of 1, 2, 3, fourth picks get benched on decent teams. Then why is it so controversial when he's clearly being outplayed?
Yeah, no, I think, to be honest with you, I think this year I'm not worried about it because I think we're tanking and I'm comfortable with that. And I want it, because I want those Wembanyama odds. And so I'm chill.
So
But
he's our tank commander. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, a little bit, man. Because next year, if it looks the same, they better bench Bari and put Tari in, man. He's comfortably better. Like, I don't care who got drafted where. At the end of the day, Bari, he's like about to set a rookie record for best combined offensive rebounding and steal percentage, I think is the stat. Like, he's got the best combined offensive rebound and steal percentage of any rookie ever, I'm pretty sure. So, like, the kid just goes and gets the ball, man. Like, he just, no matter what
Everywhere.
the circumstance is, he wants the ball, he's gonna get it. And Bari doesn't offer anything like that, or like anything at the moment, So, like, if that doesn't change, we gotta do what we gotta do. We have an excellent young four,
I'd honestly like to see. I'd be interested in a just straight up Jalen, KJ, Tari, Bari, Sengun lineup. Like, I'd be curious to like see running offense and defensively. Can you got slashers? You got off ball shooters with Tari. He's been a pretty good off ball shooter, and Jalen being an off ball shooter. That almost feels like a bit of what Denver is when you look at their lineup. Like, I don't think Murray is a true point guard. He's kind of in between. If KJ could just, I mean, if Jalen could just be like 70% of what Murray is, that's what I would be interested in seeing that lineup. Like, let's get these 3-and-D guys, and then you put them around like offensive like forces with Jalen and Sengun, and just let them go.
Yeah, Jerry, what's your view on like the whole Sengun thing? I know from like a Rockets fan perspective is one of the biggest. Well, no, I guess I don't know who's more controversial, Sengun or KPJ. It's like there's cults associated with each player that will haunt you and follow you and call you all sorts of stuff. But what is your view on the Sengun thing? Like, from like even though you're from Houston, but from the outside looking in as a Lakers fan, what do you think about the dynamic that the Rockets don't really play to his strengths and almost to seem like they don't want to lean into what his skill set is, to kind of cater to some of our other players like Kevin Porter and Jalen? Or do you think they're right in that? I know James is a Sengun lover, and,
I'm
he's
forever
not.
on the fence, man.
Yeah, what do you think about the Sengun thing? Are you high on him?
So Sengun, originally, I wasn't high on him, but towards the end of their rookie season, I started to realize, okay, he's serious. But now, I always say I wouldn't cater the offense to him. But when you look around at your team, one of y'all's biggest flaws on offense is playmaking, and someone that's actually smart and knows what to do when they have the ball. And it just so happens he's the best one at that, and he's the most consistent and not being detrimental when he has the ball in his hands. KPJ is probably y'all's best ball handler by probably like a mile. But as far as playmaking and decision making, that's Sengun. So if it was up to me, I'll be trying to make it to where Sengun is making most of the decisions on offense. If Jalen and KPJ are on the court with him, and if they're not, like, just overall, I wouldn't want to run the offense through him, but I would want him making a lot of the decisions. if that makes sense.
I feel like having Sengun and not running a decent amount of offense through him almost makes him
Defeats the purpose.
It defeats the purpose of having him. It's like if you have Jokic, it's like
Useless.
yo, we don't need post ups with Jokic. You don't have to post him up actually. You can let him just have the ball from the key and like it's more pressure on the defense. Just having a true point guard in him that kind of takes away from so much of what he's not the best. Shingu's not the best defender already, so you might as well accelerate the offense. You know,
just lean into the offense.
Yeah, you have to, or you're kind of like defeating the purpose of him being on the court because he's not a great defender. It's like we need to like make it really hard for teams on defense.
Like,
and you can't go small against Sengun.
The Jalen and Sengun 2-minute game. Now that right there, that's
real.
That's
a real thing.
It's real.
I would lean into that a whole lot.
Even KJ and Tari, like those three guys, the way those guys flash and play off Sengun, it's like that's the future for us. Like if you're gonna have him on the team.
It's like what Mike mentioned. Like y'all have parts. Another aspect, I think. We were gonna talk about it, but I guess I'll just throw it out there now. It's coaching.
No, that's number one.
So I'm like, if y'all can get a coach that, to me, y'all need a more modern, offensive minded NBA coach. Because I don't feel like Silas is that guy, and even if he is, like the clock has run out, so like we won't see it.
For the Sengun thing, the analogy I always use is Draymond on the Warriors, because even though they run through Draymond, the offense is about Steph and the shooters. So I think there's a misnomer with like play through Sengun. People think about like he's going to be taking 15 post ups and like 25 shots a game. It's just like for him to be, like you pointed out, Mike, earlier, the fulcrum of where you dump the ball off and then start running actions off of that. But that would require like a system, structure, intentionality, them actually wanting to do it. And I think for the Rockets, I don't know if Coach Silas is so stubborn with his offensive philosophy that it's almost like he hates the thought of that happening. Like they've asked this dude about like the Jokic thing, and he just kind of like blows it off, and like it's just But yeah, I think the coaching definitely is a huge part of it.
I feel like also it's like much like Jokic and even like Sabonis. A lot of guys can't play that way. Yeah, it's just like you're asking guards and other perimeter players who have had the ball and like these guys since like kids to AAU to college, you're asking them to be a completely different player. And really what it comes down to it is most guys want to play the way they want to play, especially if you're a good player. Like you want to play the way, that's why it's that's what causes so many problems in lineups anyway. Like most guys are themselves. Like you're asking guys who have never done, like Tari and KJ have never necessarily been on-ball creative guys. They've gotten points in different ways, whether in transition, whether off cutting, so they're used to these actions. Other guys, KPJ, Jalen, they've always been the center of offenses, and it's not easy to find guys. Like you look at Aaron Gordon in Denver, he's having the best season of his life. He's shooting almost 60% from the field, and it's not him. It's not, but he understands how to play with Jokic, and that uses his best. That uses his size and athleticism to get so many easy shots. And even Bruce Brown is shooting 50-some% from the field. This is ridiculous. It's like he understands, though, playing with KD and Kyrie, how to be the ultimate off guy, slasher, transition guy, cutting. Hey, if you just keep cutting, you're gonna get open. If you like, he wants to pass. Sengun wants to pass the ball. He's gonna get you. But with other guys like KPJ and Jalen all the time, they're not. They've never been necessarily those type of guys. Like you're almost a role player aspect. They've never had to be those type of guys off ball. So it's hard. It's hard to find those type of players that willing to buy in.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of that is, once again, the culture that's set by the Rockets. Like one of the biggest things that, and James, maybe you can speak to this, like next season with the Kevin Porter thing, that's going to be a big topic because depending on what coach they get, maybe the coach doesn't see him as that point guard. And I guess what role would he be willing to play on the team, to me, will determine, for me, I don't know about Rafael Stone, whether he needs to stay or not. Because I'm okay with Kevin Porter. Like, I think he's a great player. I think he's a great athlete. I honestly think he has a lot of skills that are rare in the NBA. But if a coach comes in and say, "Hey, Kevin, we're going to play you at the three, or you're going to come off the bench," and he starts tripping, then I'm like, cut him. I don't I don't even want to deal. Trade him, cut him. Like, okay, bro. But what is your view? Like, what is your litmus test for KPJ? Or are you just totally out on him as far as going forward as a Rocket?
No, not as a Rocket. No, definitely not. I'm not out on him as a Rocket. For me, the optimal role for him is probably sixth man, because here's the deal, right? The kid is a good scorer. I would say he's an above average NBA scorer. He's an excellent ball handler. He's a pretty creative finisher. He's a good catch and shoot guy. Like he's got chops, right? But he's not an elite NBA scorer. To play the way that he's trying to play, that's kind of what you have to be, Like he plays like a heliocentric ball handling offensive engine, and he's not that dude. Like, he's just not that dude. So, but if he's sixth man, he could be that dude against second units, I believe, right? So that's why I like that role for him. Like, KPJ, do your thing, but you're doing it off the bench. But I don't think he would accept that, though. So it's that's the problem. But let me say this:
the arena. He might leave the arena.
Right? Don't come back, dude. At that point, you know what I mean, right? Like, I don't really care. He's not that good, not good enough. Yeah, let me just I can see a lot of different possibilities for the Rockets next year. If we draft Scoot Henderson, that whole thing works itself out, right? But frankly, in my opinion, if we draft Scoot, that kind of puts Sengun and KPJ on the outskirts, because if Henderson's going to be our primary ball handler and playmaker moving forward, I think we're going to end up wanting a defender at the 5. It's just my opinion. And we're definitely not going to want Kevin Porter Jr. at the 1. So on the other hand, if we draft a wing, maybe they're both starting next year. And if that's the case, KPJ's got to be an off-ball player, man. It's got to run through Sengun, and KPJ catches and shoots. That's
I agree. And he's a solid off-ball player when he wants to be. That's just the problem. It's just like we all see the talent in KPJ. He's just I feel like I told my friends last year, I told them the pod, he got handed the keys way too early. It didn't actually have to figure it out. Like, he just got, and whatever you're doing is good, but it's like, no, actually, you aren't that good yet. You need to go through the fire of getting your minutes, being on like, hey, you're not playing that good, you're getting pulled out, whatever. They saw the talent from that first year, and obviously there's talent there, but the actual NBA game, like in an NBA game, he just does some very off-putting stuff. It's just like, man, like, yeah, you scored 19 points, but on these particular 10 possessions, what were you thinking? Like, what were you even doing? Like, you can't play. Like, how many good teams could KPJ play for and like be in like the 8-man rotation, and they'd be fine with just really playing him big minutes, not making mistakes. That's when I look at him. It's a bit D'Lo-ish. But D'Lo's even had higher highs than him. But it's like, man, what are you doing on certain possessions? Like, you got to swing, knowing when to swing the ball, knowing when to give it to the guy when the guy's open, knowing Sengun's hot, we need to run a pick and roll, get him the ball somehow. Like, find the guy in the corner, get it to Jalen, run some action, set a screen in the corner. Just so many other things. Like, he doesn't do any of the small things. And that just goes a long way when you're looking at a basketball game. Not the box score, but a basketball game. You notice all that stuff. And he's not the guy here. It's Jalen, it's Sengun, it's Jabari. It's like, you're not the guy,
Yeah, I think that the Rockets may have a different view of him, because honestly, all the stuff you said about him is true. But the way I change my view on any of our players is I'm not even blaming the kids anymore. The adults in the room, that the GM, the coach, that allow him to do that without any accountability, or Jalen to play bad, or Jabari, or anybody, and the players that actually are trying and playing with some structure, they get punished, like Sengun and KJ. So I think like the Rockets, what they've kind of developed is a perfect storm of just being bad. Like, this is all the stuff you want to do when you want to not win games, and
we're the worst.
We doing it like like elitely. We're elitely bad. So to me, the Wemby thing that's also dynamic, and to me, the coaching hire is going to be more impactful than anything that the Rockets do. And what I'm worried about is that they don't hire some like pushover coach that Stone can just kind of do the same stuff he does with Silas with. Hopefully, ideally, you want somebody with some cachet that can come in that has enough of a name that if Stone was to go into his meeting and try to tell him how to install defense, he'll look at him like he's crazy. Because some of that stuff that we hear about what goes on in the Rockets behind the scenes and stuff like that, where you have your GM at practice trying to run drills with the players, that is just nuts to me, and I just don't see that as a healthy environment for developing young players.
I'd agree, and we're in a weird year. We are in it is direction to go. We got Wemby and Scoot looming over, and either of those guys changes our roster next year, and with the young guys going forward, like that, some guys not gonna make it if we get either of those guys. It's gonna get and it's what veterans even we get going forward. I would have liked us to get Quinn Snyder, but obviously the Hawks, they got on that pretty quickly. That would have been the guy I would have been like aiming towards. I feel like he was a really good coach, and he did way more than what he should have in Utah. That was a okay roster with Donovan Mitchell and Gobert, and a lot in between was like it was okay. Not like first seed good though, but they did it. They've won a couple playoff series. Like I feel like he's a pretty good coach.
Who do you guys like, F3 fellas? Who, if you guys could name a few candidates, I know who Frank likes, but who do you guys prefer?
I mentioned to these guys, Kenny Atkinson.
Same.
He's somebody I like.
Likewise,
because of what he did with the Nets.
The only problem is if we get a superstar, they're not going to want him as the coach no more. If we get
I actually agree with that too.
They're going to get Kenny Atkinson. They're gonna want their guy, get Kenny Atkinson out of here, like he got out of the Nets. They're gonna dismiss him and hire Steve.
Yeah, I like him though.
Oh Lord, no Steve Nash.
Perfect. Turn down the Hornets.
No, Steve Nash.
I wouldn't
Steve
mind
Nash is not. Nah, I would not want Steve Nash on his team.
I feel like Steve Nash. Honestly, I feel like Steve Nash got a bad beat. I feel like he never got a chance.
He was a bad coach.
I feel like, honestly, in the same way that Silas got, which, like, I don't know whether Silas is a good coach or a bad coach. I have no idea.
Nah, he's a bad coach. I can tell you, he's a bad coach.
I don't know, based with as stupid as our team plays game to game. I'm like, Jesus, I can't say for sure whether he's a good coach or a bad coach. I haven't seen it. With the Steve Nash thing, he never had control of whatever that team was. The team didn't want to listen to him. And obviously, as you can see, if Jock Vaughn is like, oh, we want to listen to this guy, we can actually play defense now. It's like, so y'all didn't want to play defense a few games ago? That was all it took?
I think that's to me, that you're answering the question there. Like, part of coaching is being able to inspire and like implement what you have on the drawing board to the people, and you got to make those guys do it. And that's
like some of that is just like players can just not like you for that particular thing. They can just not like you, and now you're out.
I don't know. Stephen Silas looks like a terrible coach to me, and not even just from an X's and O's standpoint, just from a schematic standpoint, from just basic press conference answer standpoint. Like, he says the weirdest stuff in the post game conferences. There's nothing I can point at and say this dude is like, this is a guy that.
Have you seen Jason Kidd's press conferences?
Yeah.
It is
weirdo.
Jason, I still don't think Jason Kidd is a good coach, and he's on his third team. It's I don't know. It's only like a handful of really good coaches. It's always going to be like that. And then it's the in between, and then it's like you're flat out. You should never have a coaching job. How did you even get this job? You know what I'm saying?
Steve Nash. Yeah, so Steve Nash is the world.
It gets weird. I feel like Nash got a bad thing. I feel like the guys, they didn't want to listen to him. But that's just
give any coach KD and Kyrie and see what they do. But I do want to touch on one thing before we go. Now, Jerry, you're a Lakers fan, bro. What would it take? What would it take for you to come back, bro? If we draft Wemby, Jalen becomes like an all-star. Like,
no.
What can we do to get you back, bro?
No.
There's only one way.
No. If you're revoked, if we get Wemby, you're not allowed. I'm gonna ask for your picture on the stadium. You are not allowed.
Wemby wouldn't do it for me.
What would it be? What is it? Bronny James already knows.
You have to have Kevin Durant on your roster to get me back.
My God, bro.
Man,
Come
That's
on.
the only way.
You're not allowed.
KD.
You're not allowed.
So if we pick up LeBron, draft Bronny, you're not coming back?
No.
Ain't moving you?
Nah,
So,
not year 20, bro.
so
Well,
what do you
21
think?
and 20.
22.
What do you think? Real quick for the Lakers. Obviously, Bron has been hurt. They're making a little stretch here. Do they have a real shot? I just feel like I don't like their team. I like the team. I like watching the team. But as far as like a contender, I just don't. I really don't see
Oh,
it.
okay. But I could also see if we're healthy, and that is a humongous if. Oh my God, with LeBron being out for multiple weeks, we really don't even know how long he's really out. But say we were healthy, the way the West is no. I've been telling these guys all season until Phoenix now, but even Phoenix, there's nobody that's just like, oh my God, we can't beat them.
Hmm.
So to me, the West is open in that sense, but I feel like we still don't have enough to even like break through that. But say we get a first round matchup that's favorable, yeah, I could see us winning a round, maybe even two if we get lucky, which all playoff wins include luck.
I think AD has a lot. Like if he can play like he's playing right now, with the healthy LeBron and some of the new additions, I think the Lakers have as much of a shot as any team in the league to win a championship. It's just that it's rare that we ever get to see AD
See
actually
it, yeah.
be
About to say.
healthy and play like he likes basketball. Either
This
he's
whole
like,
season, this whole season really has been like, okay, LeBron, you go off since AD's not here, and then LeBron gets it going, and then AD's back, and then LeBron's out now, so now AD, you go do what LeBron was doing, and they've taken turns doing that as opposed to doing it together. Like that's been the only thing that sucks, but man, if they could actually get it together for a 6-week stretch, it's like, okay, now we talking. You got parts now on the team now where we have shooters, we have guys that even if they're not making shots, you got to respect it, which we did not have before. Like guys that like Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves, for example, was a guy that we needed to have like nice games. Now it's like, hey, you can have stretches. You don't have to have a full game of being good. You can have stretches and we'll be fun. So like we got more energy now. We got better shooters. We got just guys that are better at everything that we gave away or we lost in a sense with Russ, Pat Bev, and Lonnie Walker. Look at Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker has to like play 11th, 12th man almost now.
yeah.
Before we needed him to be top 5, like he needed to
Jordan,
be a top
yeah.
5 performer on the court. It's like the team now is way different than it was early in the season. But since we're so far into the season, it's like you're already this far deep into the season. Chemistry's like not gonna happen. LeBron, we don't know where you are physically. AD is playing back to like elite levels, so that's the biggest plus. It's like, okay, if you can get the other two to come along with AD, then okay, now we're talking about something. But that's the huge if.
I wish we had Austin Reeves.
He's one of my favorite players in Jalen's class, bro.
He's man.
nice.
I was texting earlier. It's like, man, Austin Reeves is when you watch him play. Like, man, Austin Reeves is like killing people.
He's
like,
is good.
He's lights out. It's like
He's good. He's really good.
He should
really
probably be starting, but
Which is funny because in summer league when they were rookies, him and I forget how to say his last name, McCollum, the dunk contest guy.
McClung. Mac McClung.
Yeah.
They both played together, and McClung was like the guy, and it just so happened development. Austin is just
Austin Reeves.
He's like
he's a really good player. Like
Yeah.
not even just it's like you watch. It's like, man, he's just super efficient. He can get off the dribble. He can get to the rim. He's a pretty good athlete. His defense is okay. His defense is good enough to like stay on the court. Like he doesn't get like.
Nah, he's a clamp, bro. He's a clamp.
Like he doesn't look like a good basketball player. That's the thing. He doesn't really look like a good basketball player.
I think McClung's kind of a gimmick, dude. He's just like a kid with crazy hops. You know, that dunk contest was unreal. But like,
wait, hold on. This will be
Reeves is like a real basketball player. You know, like that kid is a real NBA hooper.
James, why did you just throw that straight at McClung, bro?
I know, man.
No, right?
Hey,
we're talking about
just randomly like
he's a gimmick.
He's a gimmick, man. Go on, because we're talking about how he's a guy, and Reeves looked like a bum, and it was the other way around. I'm just saying, McClung, he can't really play NBA basketball, man.
If we do not get Wembanyama or Scoot, who is the other guy you would want to draft? Who's the next guy you have that, like, I'd want that guy?
His name is, my guy is in the NBA right now already. I'm trading that pick, bro.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, out of the draftable guys, like who
draftable?
Amen
Thompson. Yeah, the Amen thing. Yeah, because I still, I like the ball handler thing. I'm not really high on the OTE as a development program for kids, but I think at baseline, Amen is going to be another Jalen type, but he's bigger, stronger, and a ball handler. So that's like automatically to me, it's a decent prospect already. James, what about you? I already know you're a.
I think I know too.
Bang bang. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, I'm on the fence a little about. I like the idea of trading the pick too, right? And if Wemby, Scoot, and Amen are all off the board, I definitely want to trade the pick. There's nobody else I would draft at this point, to be honest, because like we need something better than what's left. You know what I'm saying? But Amen, dude, he's pretty tempting. Like to me, that kid has got a ceiling where it's like this could be like an MVP candidate. It's just that he's got a floor where it's like this could be a huge bust. But I would roll the dice personally. So like, Amen's my answer. My short answer.
Yeah, that I'm not. Yeah, I like ball handlers as far as like the archetype. That's one of the reasons I was like with Jalen's pick. People say it was a swing. To me, it's like like you draft number 2 with a scoring guard. It's really hard to try to use that as a swing to start a franchise. And I love Jalen. I'm not saying that I regret the pick or anything like that, but the Men Thompson, the Scoot Hendersons, if you look around the league, that's why Detroit went with Cade. Those guys that can control the game, control the pace of everything. That's the cream of the crop in the NBA. Once you get a guy like that, you're set. Then you can start building for real.
Like I tweeted about earlier about just how hard it is for Jalen to get to his like peak. He's a scorer. Like he could be very well one of the top scorers. It's really hard as a scorer to be one of the top scorers with efficiency. It's way easier to be like a ball handler creator, get other people involved to get to your peak and be a really good player. To be one of the top scorers, you got to be like Dame Lillard efficiency good, to be like at that level to where you're like superstar, star level, like Devin Booker good. Those guys are like, it's not many of them. Like it's hard.
And it doesn't lend to winning. As good as Dame is, that archetype, like just a pure scorer, is not something that it's not required to be a winning team. And to me, it's one of the least impactful skills as far as team building is just being able to get a bucket. Because you could be a 30-point scorer, Bradley Beal, Dame Lillard, on a team that's not even going to make the playoffs or is above playing. Or you could have a facilitator that controls everything up and down the court and be a number 1 seed just off. Yeah. So,
or you could have Evan Mobley.
Well, no, Evan Mobley on the Rockets probably Jabari, but James, what do you think about
that? Hey,
I would have taken Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I know. We already know how you. Yeah, I know how you.
He'd be averaging 20. He'd be averaging 20 and 10 for us. It would be like
maybe KPJ lobs. Christian Wood did it, so
it'd be easy.
I guess. But yeah, Mike, Jerry, like where y'all at, man? Let people know where they can find you. Twitter, YouTube, obviously.
The show, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere really. TikTok.
Cash App.
Yeah, all their links are going to be in the description for this video. James, what's up with you, man? Was anything new? I know you just dropped a new article. Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Yeah. So I wrote, did the 2020 Rockets have to implode? Basically, my argument is they shouldn't have signed Christian Wood. They shouldn't have traded Russell Westbrook. They should have just signed Paul Millsap and ran it back with small ball Millsap at the 5. Anyway, check me out at the Dream Shake. Feel free to hit my Cash App also if anybody wants to do that. And it's good talk, fellas.
Yes, sir. Appreciate everybody, man. Appreciate y'all for coming through, man. We'll definitely got to do more of this. Y'all got to go to their YouTube page, give them a follow. They got, like I was telling Jerry before we started, they had their production and just the setup and the discussions they have top notch. I love high quality stuff. Y'all know how I try to make our stuff look really good. But shout out to y'all and the Flagrant 3. You guys really do a good job. Just want to say that on camera, bro. Y'all really put out some great content.
100%.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all.